start at from the beginning again?
Yeah, we go from the beginning again. All right, and 3, 2, 1. What's going on, guys? Welcome to GIFD Lifestyle. Today, a very, very special guest, and I'm kind of freaking out a little bit because I don't want to say boyhood idol, but teenage idol of mine, Franco Santoriello, is on here with us today. Franco, thank you so much for being on GIFD Lifestyle.
Oh, thank you, Jerry. It's a privilege and an honor to be on here and give you my testimony, Jerry. In fact, when I give my testimony, the word testimony in Hebrew means to do it again. And I'm going to tell you my story. We're going to start today, and we're going to do it over maybe a couple interviews, and you're going to hear my whole story, the before and the after. And the neat thing is, Lori, is what God's done in my life, he wants to do it again in everybody else's life. Now, some people might not feel like, well, hey, I got a pretty good life. And you may have a pretty good life, but he wants you to have a life in him. And that's what I'm here to tell people about today, what my life's like in Christ.
So when I first became aware of you, so back in the Cybergenics days, remember back in the Cybergenics kid, they called you, Franco Santoriello. You were on ESPN magazine, the TV shows, and American Muscle and all these things. And I remember actually learning how to bench press properly by watching a Cybergenics commercial with you in it. So there was a commercial where it was like, want to look like this? Put on 40 pounds of muscle. I know because I did it. I remember those commercials. And you actually laid on the bench and you arched your back, which I had a hard time figuring out how to bench properly. And I watched that commercial, like a 10-second commercial, and went, that's how you do it? So I went to the gym, arched my back, pinned my shoulders back, and I was able to actually get power for the first time just by watching a commercial that had you in it. Now, way back then, Cybergenics, right? Bodybuilding, you're the national champion, you're a pro bodybuilder. Did you have a relationship with God then?
No, I'm not going to say I had a relationship with God then, Jerry. I had actually, right after I turned pro, my brother invited me to church because he knew the lifestyle of his little brother. Okay. And it was reckless. Let me tell you something. I was into everything. I was into drugs, pornography. I was into gambling. I mean, I was the chief of sinners. I was a slave to sin. My life was controlled and run by sin. So he knew his little brother was in trouble. Okay. I might have been raised Roman Catholic, but I didn't have no relationship with God. So he talked me into going to church that one day. And I went to church, Jerry. But what happened there, they're talking about Jesus dying for our sinners, that we're all sinners. And we all need, we need a way out, and that Jesus died for my sins, and that if I received it in my heart, my sins would be forgiven, and I can be right with God. So I was all good with that, man. I was all good with that. So when they had an altar call, I did a Pete Rose slide into that altar, and I made Jesus my Savior that day. But the problem was, Jerry, that day I didn't want a Lord. See, I didn't want Jesus to be the Lord and be master over my life. I didn't want anybody to be in control of me. I want to be my own master. I want to do things my way. I like my life. I like the dope. I like the drugs. I like the women. I liked all that stuff. And I didn't want to give anything up, but I just didn't want to go to hell. So I did, I didn't really have God in my life, like, a relationship with him. I brought him into my heart, but I wasn't working on getting closer to him and giving things up and surrendering. And I wasn't about all that. I kind of like things the way they were. But, we'll talk about down the line what happened, how that kind of life didn't work out too well for me.
So let's take it back for, we start at the beginning because we want to have this whole piece of your life, in order. I think it's amazing. Myself, the reason I wanted to have you on myself, right now, I think this year it's going to be 18 years that I've been clean from heroin. And I went through this whole process. I was actually in the gym training, going through withdrawals. Bodybuilding kind of grounded me. It was the only thing I had that was very, was positive in my life at the time. And it was trying to be like you guys. It was looking at you guys in the facade that basically was what we saw in the magazines, how they made it look. And I guess a lot of us chased that. It was like those I want to be a bodybuilder, I want to have the girls and the cars and live on the beach and stuff like that. So when you started bodybuilding, what pushed you to be a bodybuilder? Did you just get up one morning and go, I'm going to lift weights? Or did you always have a physique? Or?
I'm glad you asked that question because that's a fun story, all right? Let's go back to 13 years old, okay? I'm a football player. And I'm a good football player, all right? In fact, my father was my coach, and he was grooming me. Our goal and dream was that I was going to go to Notre Dame and be a running back. And you know what, Jerry? If I hadn't become a pro bodybuilder, I think that might have really happened. I was damn good. Excuse my mouth. I was good football player, man. I'd average 200 yards a game, and that was my average. I mean, you put a pigskin in my hand, and I was in the end zone. I had speed and strength. So at 13 years old, my father and I we're working on, becoming the best football player I can be. So, hey, I read a book in 8th grade about Walter Payton that he took ballet to be a better football player. As soon as I read it, Mom, I want to sign up for ballet. She's like, what? I said, yeah, take me to Becky Siler's dance studio. I'm going to take ballet. She goes, you for real? I said, Mom, I'm for real. She took me down to the ballet studio, and I signed up, and I took ballet for like 3 months. I had all my friends in school doing it with me, too. They thought, because I was a cool cat in school, I was a leader, right? So I had all my little buddies doing ballet because of Frankie, my name was doing it. They was doing it, too. But, I did whatever I could do in my own power to be the best. You know what I mean? So I knew I had to get stronger. See, my brothers were playing high school ball, so they all went to the gym and worked out. I'm like, well, man, I got to start lifting weights, too. So I started working out. We had some weights at our house, and my neighbor next door had a big set of weights. So I started working out with him every day after school. In 8th grade, I was benching 240 pounds, wow. And I was running like a 4.740 in 8th grade. So, I'm on my way now to being the best football player I can be. I'm working out every day after school. I love to train. I was the natural at it. I was getting stronger and stronger, and my body was getting developed, and I was liking it, man. I could see my physique and all that. So I remember 2 years go by. Well, meanwhile, long story short, hey, my dad at 13 years old, he decided that him and my mom decided they were going to get a divorce. And my dad dropped me off at the charter, the Greyhound bus. My class was going to Washington on a school trip, but right before he let me off out of the car to get on the bus, he said, oh, yeah, your mom and I are getting divorced. I was like, what? Now, I knew things weren't good at home, but I had never seen that coming. What are you talking about, Dad? He goes, yeah, we're getting a divorce. So, I'm going on my field trip. I just got that bomb dropped on me. So, hey, now that ripped a hole in my heart, man. But not only did they going to get divorced, my dad disappeared, man. He took off. I didn't see my dad for years. Wow. He moved to Florida and all that. So now my dad's out of my life, and he was my dad. Yeah. Maybe he used to beat me, emotionally beat me, physically beat me. I took some beatings from my dad. There's some abuse going on in my childhood. But, he was still my dad. Yeah. So he took off. So there's a big hole in my heart. So let me tell you something, Jerry. I did not ever think I would do drugs. I was like all about sports, all about, that's what I was all about. I had no desire to do drugs. But now my dad's gone. I didn't care about football no more. All I knew is there was a hole in my heart, and there was a lot of pain there. And I had to get rid of the pain, so I had to come up with a new plan. And the first part of that plan was, man, I got to get rid of this pain. So what did I do? I said, well, what is this marijuana stuff, man? I want to try it. So I smoked some pot, drank some alcohol, and I found me a new love, okay? It took away the pain. But also I knew when I worked out, it made me feel good, so I got into the weights more. Well, by the time I'm 15 years old, this kid I was working out with at the local gym, in fact, I moved from working out at home into a local gym. We was working out every day. He was 18 years old. I'm 15. And he was going to do this bodybuilding show, the Teenage Kentuckiana. It was an AAU show. He's like, hey, Frankie, why don't you go on this show with me? I'm like, man, I ain't putting no bikini shorts on and oiling my body up and getting on stage. That ain't who I am, man. I ain't doing that, man. I'm cool with this. And he's like, he kept nagging me, you should really do this show with me, man. I think he just wanted somebody to go in with him. He was kind of scared to do it by himself. So I said, all right, you fool, I'll do this with you. You know what I mean? So I got the local, good bodybuilder to show me how to pose and give me a little diet to follow. And I did the show. And you know what, Jerry? There was 21 contestants in that competition, and I was the puppy. I was the youngest guy in that show. And you know what? I took second place. Wow. And I said, wow. I'm pretty good at this, ain't I? So I said, you know what, man? This is my new thing. I'm going to be a bodybuilder. And I said out to myself, I said, if I could take second place in Teenage Kentuckiana at 15 years old, I know, because, see, my mentality is I'm going to be the best. I said, I know I could be Mr. Teenage America and Teenage USA. And I set my sights on that. By the time I was 17 years old, I won the Nationals in the Teen USA weight class, lightweight class competitions. 18 years old, I stepped up into the middleweights, and I won the Teenage USA. I beat Eddie Robinson. He was a light heavyweight. I was a middleweight for the overall to Teen USA. Then I went to the Teen Nationals. Sean Ray was in my class, and I beat him. Wow. There was a lot of good guys that turned out to be, it was a good field. And the crazy thing is, Jerry, you want to hear something real crazy? After I won the Teen USA and I beat Eddie Robinson, I felt myself because meanwhile, when I'm 18 years old, I'm a full blown addict. I'm partying, man. I'm doing cocaine and pills and mushrooms and pot and alcohol. Well, I lived on the Jersey Shore, so after the Team USA, I think there was like 14 weeks to the Teen Nationals. And I knew that year that my goal was to win the overall Team USA and win the overall Teen Nationals because I had just won my weight class and I knew I could do it, right? So I said, all right, I'm gonna do a little party. I'm gonna have a little party after the show. Well, my little party turned into 8 weeks of non-stop. Bro, I don't even remember sleeping. I mean, we was on the Jersey Shore. We was fighting. We was partying. We was picking up girls. We was doing all kinds of drugs, freebasing, cocaine. Well, I didn't work out for 8 weeks. All right. So all the physique that I had kind of disappeared. I mean, I became like, I still had my body in there, but I lost a lot of muscle. And it was 6 weeks or 7 weeks before the show. And I had an agent, a sports agent at the time. His name was Lou Zawick.
I remember Lou,
he's calling me. Yeah, he's calling me every week, asking me how I'm doing. He goes, because Lou is kind of sponsoring me. He's giving me some money for food and helping me out. He calls me every week, asking me how I'm doing, and I'm lying like a fool, bro. Oh, yeah, I'm great, Lou, man. We're hitting the gym. All right, how's it you going to do? How you doing? We're getting ready for the show. Oh, yeah, I'm getting ready for the show. Well, 7 weeks before the show, I couldn't lie no more, Jerry. So he called me up one day. He said, hey, Frankie, now my name is Franco because when Lou Zawick became my agent, we changed my name from Frank to Franco because Franco Colombo just retired, so I was going to be the new Franco. So he's like, how about you so he's calling me like it's like 6 weeks, 7 weeks before the show. He said, how's it going? I said, man, I'm not going to lie to you, Lou, but I've been lying to you. He's like, why? I said, yeah, man, I've been lying to you for like the last 8 weeks. I haven't worked out. He goes, what are you talking about? You've been telling me you've been doing good. I told you I was lying, Lou. I said, I can't do this show, man. There's no way in the world I could come back and get ready for this competition. See, all along I felt like I can back and I can start training and but I knew now there's no humanly way possible I can get ready for this show. I had lost a lot of muscle and I hadn't worked out for one time, okay? And he's like, he goes, well, hold on a second. I'm going to call you back. So I hang up the phone. I get a phone call an hour later. He goes, Franco, he goes, you're going to get on a plane tomorrow. You're flying to Cincinnati, and this man, John Pro, is going to pick you up, and he's going to train you. He's going to get you ready for the Teen Nationals. I said, I'm down with it. So I need to get off all that party. It was killing me. Yeah. So I said, I'll try it. So I got on a plane the next day, and that's when I met Mr. Perillo. And he became my mentor and my trainer, and still to this day is one of my dearest friends. In fact, I'm still taking his products today. They're on my shelf over there. I'll show you. So I went out there. We met him, 7 weeks later. I show up at the Teen Nationals. Paul DeMello was the light heavyweight winner. Sean Ray was in my class. Shane DeMore won the lightweight class. And guess who won his class and won the overall? Hoorah! I did it! After an 8-week party, bro. But this is what I can do. And with my genetics and the hard work, I was able to snap back and win that show. So you could see kind of how my mind thought I was invincible. I was the word I'm trying to say. Invincible. I was invincible, man. You couldn't stop me. So I had just came back 18 years old. I had won the Teen USA and the Teen National overall champion.
That's amazing, man. That's just so many people out there don't understand that genetics play a big part into this because nowadays it's all about drugs. They don't even understand anything besides they get a gym membership on Tuesday, Wednesday they're trying to order drugs online. Now, did you win that title natural or were you already using it at that time? And not using other drugs, but not steroids.
17 years old was when I got introduced to steroids. Okay, at 17 years old, I had won the Team New Jersey Natural and decided I wanted to go into Team USA. Okay, so I knew at that level I was probably going to have to start dabbling with the little steroids. So I got me a steroid cycle at 17 for the Team USA. And I think it was like Deca, Winstrol, and Test. And I did my first cycle at 17. And then I didn't do a lot of steroids. And this is my story about steroids because all along I'm telling you, man, I'm an addict. Okay, I like to get high. So, I did have sponsors and I did have people like when I was with Cybergenics, they gave me thousands of dollars for cycles, okay, for GH and everything. Because, imagine with my body and my genetics, if I'd have done the steroids that those guys did, I'm going to tell you right now, Jerry, hands down, I don't care what bodybuilders listen to me out there today, that I would have smoked you all. Nobody could have beat me if I'd have done GH and the steroids that they were doing. And if I wasn't a drug addict, I would have been a 7-time Mr. Olympia. Nobody would have beat me. Okay. I would have been unbeatable, but I didn't do that. All the money that I got for all my GH cycles and steroids, I sold for cocaine.
Wow.
That's the truth, bro. I didn't do a lot of steroids. I just did for shows. I always made sure I had a bottle of Winster V, and I did a little bit of tests. But that was the gist of my steroids. I mean, I did what I did with genetics and hard work.
Back then, the guys didn't take a lot like they do nowadays. I mean, I grew up in that era also, and I remember what guys were taking and what it wasn't like it is now whatsoever.
Oh my gosh, it wasn't nothing like it is now today. But I know one thing: they were doing a lot more than I was doing, and I was taking weeks and weeks and months off because of my binges. And I never reached my full potential in bodybuilding. I didn't even come close to it. And I did pretty good in bodybuilding. I'm not trying to brag, but I could have been the greatest bodybuilder, I think, in my mind, with my physique and my genetics.
Was there a point where you realized, like, I'm not going to feel my potential? Like, I'm not going to be able to do it because of, the partying and stuff?
Yeah, I knew that when I became pro, and the amount of partying I did, I knew I was never going to reach my full potential. I just knew it because I knew these guys were dedicated, like Sean Ray's and Richie Gaspari's and all those guys that were training Flex Wheeler and these guys, Kevin Laverne and Porter Cottrell. These guys, they never missed a day. You know what I mean? They were at it, man. I would take months off and I partied, man. I didn't have the discipline consistently to, I didn't keep going up. I would go up a little bit and take 3 steps back. I would go up, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and then at 30 years old, I was a full-blown heroin addict and my career came to an end.
Now, when you say, I used to train so hard, what would be like a typical, let's say, because everybody's going to want to know chest. I don't know why chest is such a big deal, but the typical chest workout for Franco back then, would it be high volume, heavy duty, drop sets? Was it like something like, it was almost like Dorian-esque, or was it? You
know,
yeah,
keep
absolutely.
going.
Yeah.
It was everything you just said. It was everything. It was heavy weights, high volume, drop sets. It was all that. I mean, Pearl taught me how to train heavy because you needed heavy weights. We did 100 rep sets, volume sets. We did break sets. We did supersets. We did giant sets. We did every kind of set under the sun. We just trained with intensity because the idea was when you went in the gym to work out is you have to break the muscle down. You had to tear it down. So you had to brutally beat it. So, and I was good at punishing myself.
Right.
I mean, obviously I was a full-blown addict. I loved to punish myself. So, I mean, I was able to beat myself up all the time in the gym. And that's how I did good because of how I tore myself down. I would beat myself to death. I mean, I did leg work. I sat last 4 hours. Wow. I remember I can't think of his first name. His last name was Banner. But me and Banner went head-to-head in a leg workout. He thought he could take me out. We went 4 hours doing legs. And finally I got him to tap out. I'm telling you, the only bodybuilder in the history that I ever tapped out to was Richie Gaspari. Now, that dude was a beast, man. We went head-to-head chest for like 2 hours. And we were training, man. And finally, I was like, this fool's never going to quit. You know what I mean? We were going at it head-to-head, weight pound for pound, set for set, rep for rep. We were finally on flies. And I remember saying to myself, man, I think I just done like a 2-day Coke binge like 3 days before that. And I knew going into that workout, I was in bad shape. I'm like, man, this is going to be rough. I knew it, but I said, I can do it. Like I said, I thought I was invincible. But finally, man, we were working out and I was like, man, this fool's not going to quit. And I said to Richie Gaspar, I go, hey, Richie, you had enough? And he looked at me, he goes, you had enough? I said, Richie, I had enough. He goes, then I'm good. He was waiting. I said, I'm good, Richie, I'm good. So that was our chest workout. But we did, like, again, me and him, we did the same thing, man. It was heavy weights, a lot of supersets, a lot of break sets, and just rep volumes, just like you said, all of it.
Everything.
All of it. Yeah.
Which is kind of how Milo Sarshev actually trains his clients. He does giant sets, but he does pretty much heavy duty, high volume, high reps, low reps, like power. He does everything, and that's kind of his training style. Now, going from that back then, which is probably how you like to train because you're able to do it for so long and just keep pushing, to training how you do today, which I assume is more like fitness-based rather than kind of hardcore bodybuilding, right?
Yeah, I train like a sissy today, man.
So, which it happens. I don't think people understand as you get older.
4 years old. 4 years old last week. I go to Planet Fitness, man, the no judgment free zone. I get on a Smith machine. My sets are usually like 20 reps. I got a moderate weight. I'll do 2 body parts. I mean, I'll do a set of chest, a good weight. I'll go up to 2.25. I could still do like 15 or 20 reps with that. And then I'll do like a bicep exercise, then go back to like another chest exercise, then go do an ab exercise. And I'll just go nonstop for like 45 minutes and I'm done. I'm good.
Now, to get to that point, like what you're doing, because I could see in your face that you're okay with that, right? There's a
Yeah, I'm
point
totally
where
okay.
I definitely like I tore my pec right off the bone because I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that I was 40 something years old. I wasn't 21 anymore, and you keep like try to go back to what you know, right? So was there a point where you just said, "Look, I can't go back to training like that. I need to change
I
and
know
evolve."
that. Well, I love to train. I mean, there was a decade where I took off because of my addiction, where I was, my career came to an end, and I was, man, it was far into my addiction. But see, today, I mean, I work out because it's part of my health. I know I need to, because I had a massive heart attack 9 years ago. It's called the Widowmaker. I mean, I had allowed myself through my addiction. I hadn't touched a weight for a decade. I had blown up like a water balloon. I looked like the Michelin Man. In fact, when you went to the grocery store, Jerry, I had to get one of those little electric buggies to get around the grocery. I couldn't walk, Jerry. I walked with a cane. I was morbidly obese. Nothing but snort pills, drink alcohol, and eat. And I mean, and I had my physical being was bankrupt. It was a mess. So, and then I had a massive heart attack, a Widowmaker, and I was clinically dead. In fact, you want to hear a crazy story? My son, who was 8 years old at the time, we were basically this much. There's a lot of drugs go on there. So my son woke up. It was the morning time. I was in distress in my sleep. I can't even tell you about my heart attack because I don't remember it. But I was in distress, and my little 8-year-old boy, he thought I was playing some kind of joke on him. He was trying to wake me up, and he couldn't wake me up. So he threw water in my face, and nothing happened. So then he's like, oh, my gosh, Daddy, come on, wake up, Daddy, wake up. So he thought, he still thought I was playing with him. So he gets a bottle of Sprite, and he pours it on my face. I figured he must have thought the carbonation was going to wake me up. Right. Well, nothing happened. So thank God that little boy that day was smart enough to call 911, and he ran to the desk of the hotel I was in, or he called them and said, my dad won't wake up. Something's wrong. And the girl that was working at the desk, see, God had this all ordained already. She was a former firefighter, so she came down and started CPR on me while the paramedics were on their way. Well, she could only do it so long, and she exhausted herself. By the time the paramedics got there, I was dead, okay? And they thought I was a heroin overdose. I was flatlined. There was no heartbeat, and I wasn't breathing. So they hit me with Narcan. Well, Narcan doesn't do nothing for a heart attack, Jerry.
Right.
And they did it again. They hit me with Narcan for a second time, and nothing. So they hit me 3 times, and I said, okay, this guy's dead. We ain't bringing him back. I don't really know. I only know this story because the paramedics, when I came out of surgery, were by my bedside in recovery to tell me the story. And I tell the story like this sometimes when I'm preaching, that God had, God tapped one guy on the shoulder, and he's like, hey, before you bag him, and they were going to bag me because the one paramedic said after the 3rd shot of Narcan, he goes, get the body bag. And so they're getting ready to bag me. But I guess somehow, somewhere, before he bagged me and put me in a bag and took me to the morgue, he must have got a word from somehow, something. I don't know what it was. But he's like, well, maybe we should try hitting him with a defibrillator, jumpstart his heart. Well, they did. And that's what they should have did before you bag a guy. Try to, Yeah. And they're like, oh, my God, this guy's alive because they got a heartbeat. And so then they started treating a heart attack, and they got me to the hospital. I flatlined 2 more times. And by the time I got to the heart, by the time I got to the hospital, and they put 2 stents in my heart that day because my main artery was 100% clogged. And I came out of, I know this story because when I came out of surgery and recovery, the paramedics they're like, dude, you was dead, man. We're going to put you in a body bag. I'm like, well, thank God you didn't. And they were by there, and they told me the whole story. So, yeah, I don't know where that story came. I guess it took a little rabbit trail telling you that story.
It doesn't matter, man.
Yeah. I'm just telling you some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. This is what we need, man. The
world needs to know that drugs are real. They need to know that drugs kill.
Yeah.
And that's the thing today, man, especially opioids.
Yeah.
They kill. And it doesn't have to be steroids. Not steroids. It doesn't have to be heroin. I died because of the abuse of pills. I was snorting like 10 Perk 30s a day and 6 or 7 Xanax a day, 2 milligrams Xanax a day, and drinking alcohol and gaining weight because I was eating, I laid around. I didn't do nothing. I laid around on an air mattress And I mean, we lived in an apartment. We never cleaned it for a year. It was gross.
Oh.
I mean, it was my life. It was such a mess at the end, man. It really was. It was sad. It was sad what I dragged my son through, and we'll talk about him today. He's on scholarship in college right now, putting himself through school. Thank God I was able to get out of prison when he was only 13 years old and be the real dad to him that I should have been all along. And we could talk about fathers, you know what I mean? Whatever. We could talk about whatever. I'll do as many interviews with you as you want, bro.
This is awesome, man. I'm looking at you now. I'm going, everything you've been through and your age and everything, you have barely aged. Like, I'm looking at you thinking, like, you don't look like you've been through all this. I think that's the thing. People normally think of, like, a heroin addict, like they've lost their teeth, their hair's falling out, they look like they're going to die. I don't think people realize that there are people out there that are addicted to pills and drugs and alcohol, and they look normal. And they're just kind of living their life out there, and you don't even know, you know something's up with them, but you don't really know.
Before I got clean, when I was full blown, I was a hot mess, man. I looked like death. My face was blown up like a balloon. My hair, I mean, this is the restoration. This is God restoring my health and taking care of myself. But, you know, today I want to tell you is I work out. I was going to get to is, you know, I do work out. I work out 5 times a week. I try to get to the gym because it's my physical health. I need it. It's part of my see, I was diagnosed with bipolarism, the same thing that my father, the one that used to beat me emotionally and physically. But he's, like I said, he did his best. That's how his dad raised him, and his dad raised him. So he thought that's how you raise your kids, with an iron fist, and it's okay. I don't hate him. I love my dad. You know what I mean? So I was diagnosed with bipolarism too, and I had become very suicidal in prison when I got. We'll talk about that later on. But God gave me a plan, and because I took myself off of my mental medication when I got locked up, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the prison life. But God gave me a plan, and it was taking care of my physical health and my spiritual health, and I did that in prison, and I didn't need medicine. So when I got out, I haven't taken any kind of medication in 8 years, Jerry. I haven't done a pill or smoked anything for mental meds or any kind of benzo. I mean, I'm drug free for 8 years. July 6th, 2011 was my clean day. That's the day I got locked up.
Now, do you think?
But my physical health, I use physical training and spiritual training for my mental health.
Now, do you think? I mean, I don't. This is an easy to answer, question. That all the drugs you were using was a way of self-medicating because of the bipolar you didn't know about?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think most of my addiction, and for the last decade, I did drugs to avoid depression and anxiety. Okay. It's because, and I hated anxiety. I mean, anxiety, and if you do drugs, the severe anxiety it causes in your life. So I did not want to deal with anxiety. So, I mean, I remember literally just getting high to get rid of anxiety. Yeah. You know what I mean? Besides, I was definitely a self-medicator. I started off because I liked to get high. And at the end, it was nothing. It wasn't even. You don't even get high when you're a heroin addict.
Right. You're trying to be well. You're just trying to be normal.
You're just trying to be well, man. You just want to get through the day.
Now, I wound up on methadone, and then eventually Suboxone, and I honestly feel like the institution, I guess you would call it, were like they wanted you to be on those drugs for life. They wanted you to stay on methadone. They wanted you to stay on Suboxone. And when I moved from Rhode Island down to Maryland. And I decided that I was going to get off the Suboxone. I started tapering back myself, and I got off of it. And I've been off the Suboxone since 2005 when I moved down here, against doctor's orders. Now, do you feel like, you went through the same thing. You used Suboxone. You're not on the Suboxone anymore or anything, right?
No, God, no. I'm drug-free,
Yeah, so how did you wind up? That in itself, because you come off the heroin and stuff, and you're on these other drugs that are...
Jerry, I want to commend you for getting off Suboxone. It's harder than getting off the dope.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where I just didn't want to take a pill for the rest of my life. I didn't want to do it. Because you wake up in the morning and you almost feel the withdrawal starting, and you take the Suboxone, it dissolves, and as it dissolves, you feel it just kind of fuzz and fade away. Like you're not high, but that
I was there. I know it. But the only thing about Suboxone is you're still in bondage.
Right, and you don't realize when I got off the Suboxone...
You're a slave to the pill.
I don't know if you noticed this. When I was on the Suboxone, the girl that I was dating at the time, when I got off the Suboxone, it was like I went from a black and white TV to a color TV, and the volume went way up. All of a sudden, I could feel, and it was like almost like I was stuck, like spiritually and emotionally, like 5 years ago when I started the drugs. But you didn't know you were still numb from the Suboxone. You didn't realize the Suboxone was still numbing you until you get off of it.
It just makes you functional without the pills and all the drugs, but you're still numb. You're right, because it's an opiate.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's an opiate. Isn't Suboxone a synthetic opiate, right?
Yeah, it's one that supposedly doesn't make you high, but I know there are people that are out there. I've
Right.
seen it
Oh
on.
no, don't tell me that, bro. I could get high on Suboxone. I used to taper down my pills and then double up or triple up, and I used to get smoking high off that
Really,
stuff. You can abuse Suboxone for sure. Come on,
I've seen the.
you just didn't know.
Have you ever
See, I
watched
was a good addict.
one of the very intuitive addicts, right?
Yeah,
Have you watched those shows like Intervention, like on
I've
A&E?
watched a couple times, man. I'm so busy today, Jerry, with my ministry and my business and my family. I don't even have time to breathe, bro. I mean, my wife and I, we wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We got a newborn son. He's 15 weeks old. We got to care for
Oh,
him.
congratulations,
Spend
man.
Both of us. We wake up in the morning. We both go to our corners of the house and we spend time with Jesus because we start our day with giving God the first time of the day, and then we work. I don't know, maybe 10, 11-hour days. We have a very successful residential cleaning business. We clean. And then at the end of the day, I got to go to the gym. I mean, my workouts during the week because I'm so exhausted, but I got to go to the gym. They're like literally 30 to 45 minutes of like rapid fire working out just to get my, just to feel good. And I know I got to see, I'm an evangelist today, Jerry. That's what I do. I go into prisons, rehabs, and I minister in churches too. And I tell my story about being on top of the world as a pro bodybuilder. So I got to kind of show them I look like a pro, but I got to have a physique a little bit. So I got to stay in shape. You know what I mean? I love to work out too. I love how it makes me feel. It's part of who I am. I'll do it forever. But I'm so exhausted. The last thing I want to do is go to the gym at the end of a work day. I'm exhausted, but I make myself go. It's the discipline. And I'm not trying to build muscle. I'm just trying to maintain, you know what I mean?
Do you feel better?
Somewhat healthy.
Like after you go to the gym, you're tired. You feel better when you're done, right?
Oh my gosh, when I get back, I feel great. I come in, I start doing dishes, cooking dinner and all that, spend some time with the baby. Then I take, there is something I do take. I take melatonin because I get like up. So I take a melatonin, 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, I'm like, out like, you don't get high from it. It just helps induce sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I turned the volume down by accident. There we go.
So now from the Franco, like all the technology problems, like we were talking about before. So like, I think it's interesting from, we're coming up in here at we're on 40 minutes. So I think we're going to end here and then go to the next one because I want to hear that coming to God story, right? We talked before about, like I had this friend, Eric I can remember.
That's the next story. Let's let everybody on hold.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah. Because I think that was a really, really good one. And you tell it so animated that it's almost like you're in there listening, you know what I mean? Like as it's happening. So I think we're end it here.
I'll tell you the story when I preach it, how I tell the story. I'll tell the whole story, okay? Because I'll probably start crying because when I relive that experience, I feel a lot of pain again. It comes back, but then I also feel the healing of God too. So we'll bring that. So maybe we'll get into a little bit when we come back here. We'll talk about a little bit more of the deep addiction and some of the life of sin that I lived and where drugs led me to, the lifestyle, and then we'll talk about the turnover, the surrender. Yeah, how's that sound?
Absolutely. I think we should make a whole video just on the story because I've heard the story before. Like just like that would just a standalone video like that. I just think it's awesome. And Franco,
I'll tell the introduction to my book.
Yeah,
that's a crazy to the box. It's called The Box.
Let's hang on. Let me find this thing over here. All right, cool. Yeah, so we're hitting 40 minutes now. So let's end this right here. Hang on 1 second. And all right, Franco. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's been a couple of weeks we've been trying to get this organized and stuff, and I know that you're busy and stuff, and I appreciate you taking the time. Like I'm not kidding when I say you were one of my teenage idols that I really looked up to, but I looked up to you then as the bodybuilder, right? After I saw the Dave Palumbo video, because I'd always wondered what happened to Franco. I look up to Franco Santoriello, the man now, which is different than looking up to the bodybuilder. You know what I mean? It's something completely different. I'm going, the bodybuilder thing is this thing that we construct in our heads to make this person, but that's just a piece of the person. But now after the interview with Dave and the stuff we said here today, I'm a huge fan of yours in general, just as a man, the way that you took control of your life. You absolutely are not afraid to thank Jesus and God for it, which some people are nowadays. And you're moving forward. You've created a business. You have a wife. You have the kids. Like you basically went to hell and back, and here you are. I feel absolutely privileged. I'm absolutely privileged to be on here right now talking to you about this. I know you don't do many interviews and stuff, so Dave's in this one. Like, thank you so much, man. It's an absolute honor to be talking to you.
Thank you, Jerry. I look forward to the next interview.
Thanks, man.
We got a lot to share. All right, brother.
I'm excited, brother. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care.
Good night.